became her teachers. As she sought to rescue women and girls from trafficking and abuse and to see them flourish in God's love, in the end, they rescued her. They opened her eyes to embrace God's greater vision for all his daughters and freed her to unreservedly embrace God's calling on her own life. One of the hard facts confronting us in the 21st century is the global pandemic of sexual violence and human rights violations against women and girls. It is a tragic reality that is as old as the fall of humanity. Thankfully, we now have access to a growing number of well-researched, well-written books revealing the gravity of this crisis. They have helped fuel an awakening and an activism that have been profoundly heartening to see. Although Meghan's book belongs to that effort, she expands the discussion in significant ways. On the one hand, she provides a wide-angle perspective on the world of 21st century women and girls, those suffering human rights violations, as well as women who enjoy enormous privilege. On the other hand, and without ever losing sight of the big picture or narrowing the focus of her book to a single issue, she zooms in on wrenching stories of young girls trafficked for sex, enduring domestic violence and rape, subjected to female genital mutilation, and denied educational opportunities. Meghan's perspective is remarkable in that she doesn't distinguish those women from herself or from other women in the Western evangelical church. She masterfully weaves in her own, often costly journey as a young girl growing up in the evangelical purity culture amid the pervasive teaching about female submission to male leadership, which diminished her sense of self and created an alarming vulnerability. When confronted by horrific violence against women, a crisis of conscience compelled her to ask deeper questions. One of the many strengths of this book, and what makes it so important and distinct, is that Meghan doesn't just present the issues. She drills deeper to explore how the church's gender theology is part of the problem and needs to be re-examined against this wide-angle global perspective. That changes the kind of book you are about to listen to. Meghan's travels brought her face-to-face with women and girls for whom church teaching she'd absorbed about what it means to be female is totally out of reach, not only unworkable in their situations, but unthinkable to even contemplate suggesting they need to be more compliant and submissive to men. Women Rising gives us a vital case study that models the kind of robust, real-life stress test that Christian theology demands. Here is an essential template of what is all too often missing in the development of Christian theology, namely, subjecting our theological beliefs to real-life, global, worst-case scenarios and contingencies. Her work exposes serious deficiencies in evangelical theology regarding women and girls, and ultimately also about men and boys. There's good news in this book for men and boys, too. The Bible's message for women is global, and it is good news for every woman and girl. No woman or girl gets left behind. The real question that male church elders should have been asking is, how can we do more to cultivate strength, courage, and wisdom in our daughters so they can stand up for what is true, just, and right, and fully embrace God's calling on their lives? I hope and pray this book will be widely listened to by women and those who love them, and by men, including professional theologians, professors, and pastoral ministers. We have urgent work to do, and this book is a welcome challenge as we move forward. Preface. Before we begin, an important note about what this book is and isn't. It is not meant to be a biblical case for egalitarianism. While I will certainly refer to Scripture throughout this book, it isn't an in-depth exegesis. If you're looking for biblical resources on the topic of egalitarianism, I recommend the book Half the Church by Carolyn Custis James, or the resources offered by Christians for Biblical Equality. Neither is this book meant to tell the stories of others. That's not my right. And should I try to tell others intricate and nuanced stories, I would come up woefully short. If you're looking for a full story on, for instance,